Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for holding this markup so that we can have a public discussion of the values and ideas that are behind this particular budget resolution. Many of us share the concerns about border security. We were involved in the 2013 bipartisan bill that we passed through the Senate. And I might remind you that it was the Republican House that torpedoed that bill. And there was a bipartisan plan last year worked out. And again, it was the Republican candidate for president, then Mr. Trump, who torpedoed that bill. So working together in a cooperative fashion on border security and national security, we're all for. But we are not for this budget resolution. And I'm going to explain why. This budget resolution contains $9 trillion in cuts to programs for working families. This budget resolution has a simple vision. Families lose and billionaires win. It mirrors the last budget presented by Donald Trump and his former OMB director, Russell Vought, the architect of Project 2025. And of course, we now have, again, Russell Vought as OMB director. If you consult the budget tables for the chair's mark, you'll find that in just 2025, it proposes $1 trillion cuts to programs. Well, we also saw reflected that that's an amplification of what was in Trump's and Vought's last budget for 2021, which had $1 trillion spread over a decade. That previous budget slashed programs, slashed them for health care and housing, for seniors and veterans, slashed the funding for hospitals and community health centers, slashed the school meal programs and food pantries, slashed the Head Start programs, the police and firefighter funding. I did all that, and now we're seeing a replay of that strategy. Families on the chopping block, but big, massive giveaways to the richest Americans. This is the great betrayal, because President Trump campaigned on helping families, not destroying the programs that help them stand up, do well, thrive, move into the middle class. So that's why we're so opposed to this particular budget resolution. This resolution sets up a bill that opens the door to making student loans more expensive, closing off the opportunity for millions of students to thrive by attending college. This proposal eliminates the EPA's methane fee, which is a critical tool for encouraging the biggest polluters of this toxic global warming gas, the biggest incentive for them to control and reduce their leaks. This budget sets up a strategy for encouraging massive amounts of drilling for fossil fuels, which pours fuel on the fire of climate chaos, generating more disasters, more droughts, more powerful hurricanes, more floods, more forest fires, afflicting our communities all across this nation. And in turn, it drives up the cost of flood and fire insurance. We're already seeing insurers disappear from the markets in Florida, California, and in my home state of Oregon. And we know families are terribly upset about this vision. We're getting thousands and thousands of phone calls, voicemails, emails from families, every one of our offices. They're concerned about the impacts to education and housing and health care and child care. So, Mr. Chairman, that's not our only concern. Our other concern is that this will continue the record of Republicans driving us deeper into debt. As you will see by this proposed, or this chart behind me, if we look at the first year of deficits for each Republican administration and compare it to the last year, every single Republican administration increases the deficits over the term of their service in office. And every Democratic administration reduces the deficits during their time in office. So we see Republicans campaigning on fiscal responsibility and then proceeding through massive tax cuts to the wealthiest of driving our country deeper into debt. Indeed, this is a vision that's now existed for 40 years. We are seeing a replay of this charade one more time. The trickle down never trickles down. Now, we know that many of the cuts promised in this budget are very real and will hurt families, but we also know that many of them are a mirage. If you take the chairman's mark for just the first year that calls for $1 trillion cuts in just FY25, well, we're halfway through FY25. Our colleague, Senator Johnson, laid out a vision of what those $1 trillion cuts would look like. And what they would look like is virtually wiping out all funding in the balance of FY25 for energy, for natural resources, for agriculture, for community and regional development, for education, training, employment, and social services, and about half of the funding for healthcare, transportation, veterans benefits, unemployment benefits, international aid, commerce, and housing. Now, those cuts are designed to offset the giveaway, the $3.7 trillion of giveaways to the richest Americans. But that magic asterisk, these unallocated program cuts, means when they don't happen, we run the country deeper into debt, repeating the model we have seen time after time after time. I tell you, if you're fooled once, shame on you, but if you're fooled twice, shame on me. Or if I'm fooled twice, shame on me. I mean, now we're talking about the fourth or fifth time we're being fooled with this presentation of fiscal responsibility that, in fact, is designed to give tax cuts to the richest Americans and drive up the national debt while cutting programs for families. This is not government of, by, and for the people. This is government of, by, and for the billionaires. I propose instead we write a budget together that lowers the cost of health care, that builds more affordable housing, that improves education, that creates good-paying jobs, and that tackles climate chaos. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.